Hey, chiropractors, welcome to Modern Chiropractic Mastery with your host, Dr. Kevin Christie, where we discuss the latest in marketing, business, and professional growth with some of the leading experts in the industry. Welcome to another episode of Modern Chiropractic Mastery. Today, I'm bringing on a couple, Dr. Tyler and Dr. Laura Wright. They are part of our West Mastermind group. They were also part of our coaching before that, and we're going to review the last year they've had. It's been a wild ride, but ultimately wanted to bring them on to, kind of share their story to make you realize or have you realize you can take on big things. And I'm not saying you have to go as big as they did and how they decided to change the course of their clinic situation, personal life, where they wanted to live and make a decision like that. But I want you to take the essence of what they talk about in this podcast and apply it to things that might be, hiring your first associate, becoming an owner for the first time, or maybe it is something big like moving, or it's just, I want to take on a challenge to get even better clinically or from a business standpoint, or you're just running into obstacles in your clinic. You can overcome it. You can do hard things, and the Wrights have definitely done that. And so I wanted to have them on to share their story. And we kind of start where the first weekend of our 2024 West Mastermind group, we have an East and a West, and 2024 was the first year for the West group. And we've had quite a growth in that group into the 2025 as we speak now. If you're interested in 2026, we will be in the next couple months opening up the West group for more members. So you can email me, kevin@moderndeskjockey.com, if you're interested and would like to know some of the basic details right now. We don't have all the finalized details for 2026, but we're close, but we can get you on a list and kind of let you know. But this group is just really special. So is the East, and people are doing big things in there and having a high level of success and camaraderie on that. So check that out. And in this episode, we're going to dive into some of the thought process of what they took on. And now that a lot of it is in the rearview mirror, some of the things that they learned. So here is my interview with Dr. Laura Wright and Dr. Tyler Wright. All right. Welcome to the show. I got Laura and Tyler Wright, and we are going to dive into a whirlwind of a year and a lot of fun and a lot of challenges. It's been fun to see it all lay out. But before we do, give us a little bit of a background on yourselves.
Yeah, so Laura and I, we met in chiropractic school we graduated in 2017. We met back in like 2016, dated for a little bit, got married, moved across the country, started a practice in Jackson, Wyoming, all within the span of a month. When we originally moved to Jackson, Wyoming, I had never been there. And Laura's selling piece was, it's great, but when it gets too busy or too expensive, we'll move to Alaska. And I held on to that firmly.
I had said that as a joke, but here we are.
I took it very seriously. And we had a successful practice. We grew every year. We were doing really well. 7.5 years into practice, it was very clear that the environment around us had changed and that our longevity was compromised. And we had to commute. We were commuting upwards of an hour or so each way to get to work and to get home. And once our children, who we now have two, once they started school, they'd be going 45 minutes the other direction. So all of this kind of culminated about the same time we joined the MCM Mastermind group. And we had gone into this group thinking, we need ways to strategize and how to grow and how to make this really difficult environment work. And almost exactly a year ago, we went to Arizona thinking that's what we were going to do. And along the way, we decided that we were going to completely uproot our family and our business and move about as far away as you can move and still stay in the continental USA. So,
yeah. Anything to sprinkle onto that, Laura?
Yeah. We didn't meet in 2016 and do all that in 2017. We met early 2015. So it wasn't like 1 year and then the next year we're getting married and doing all of that. Yeah, I think I thought we'd be in Jackson forever. And so we lived just outside of Jackson in Alpine, Wyoming. And that's why we had the commute. And Yeah, I think it came evident from a work point, like, this doesn't make sense for us. Jackson just blew up with COVID. It's just insanely expensive. The saying there was, "The billionaires are pushing out the millionaires." And I think, like, we could have made it work.
Mhm,
We just would have spent our life grinding,
mhm,
and we looked at what we wanted to build, which was a bigger clinic, multidisciplinary. We wanted to have a gym, small group classes, and just with, commercial real estate, that was going to be very, very difficult there. So I kind of think of ourselves. I made a analogy the other day. I have a little like potted plant.
mhm.
There was us in that pot trying to grow with basically like seasonal watering. From very busy in the winter and the summer, not during the off seasons in this tiny pot. And now we've, moved up here, and there's so much more opportunity for us. And that's really what brought us up here. And that's what we realized in that first mastermind is we could make it work there, but if we have the means and we're willing to go, like, why not go where there's more opportunity for us?
Yeah, and so, a little bit of a synopsis for our listeners. We went from Jackson, Wyoming to Anchorage, Alaska. You guys had done some coaching with us in the past and then
Yep.
joined the first year of the West Mastermind group, and we were in Phoenix, Arizona with Jay Greenstein as our lead presenter for that particular weekend. And like you said, we're going in there to build some things and do all that. Instead, you blew up some things. Is that accurate?
That's very
Yeah,
accurate.
yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that was a year and some ago, early February, went to the mastermind. 2.5 weeks later, we flew up to Anchorage, Alaska. It was Tyler's first trip up there. I'd been several times. My childhood best friend lives up here. My first trip in like the dead of winter. Tyler was sold right away on it. And then I think I liked it, but I was more nervous to move.
Very much so.
But talked about it, went back home, put our house on the market, started all of the process to sell our business in Jackson. I made us visit a fair amount of other places just to
Yep.
compare them before we finally settled on. But we basically, yeah, in less than a year, sold our home. We didn't end up selling our business. We ended up packing it up and bringing it with us. Um, but yes,
Yeah, it was, and it was cool. We're gonna dive into a few things, but, I'd like to actually tease out a little bit the thought process of, like you mentioned, packing up your business and going with you. People are like, "Well, how does that work?" Um,
Yeah.
but obviously you could sell a practice, but then when you do sell a practice, you're selling everything, and that's your email list, yeah, just everything. It's gonna be your equipment, it's gonna be all the different things. And so what was the thought process? Obviously, the timetable of selling a practice can be a year to 2 years, so there was probably that opportunity cost and the time of it. But what are some of the things that you felt benefited you by just, quote, unquote, "packing up the business and taking with it"? What are some of those things?
Yeah, I think you nailed it with the timetable for sure.
Yeah,
We wanted to do it while our kids were a certain age.
gotcha.
They were 1 and 3 at the time, and getting here prior to starting school and really making those bonds with friends was important.
Mhm.
The other thing that really stood out was the equipment and the cost of shipping things to Alaska. We could sell the business and lose all of our equipment at a reduced value, and we would have to pay more for it, plus an upcharge just to get it to our clinic being up here. We ordered some gym equipment up here, and it does cost a little bit more to get product up here, and we see that both in the cost of groceries and just getting things delivered.
Mhm, yeah,
yeah, and I
so
think, right, I mean, the email list didn't make such a big
that yeah,
difference, but we have a great YouTube channel. We had a great website. We did end up redoing the website as of right now. We'll see if we'll still lose them or not. We had brought all our Google reviews with us. So it was rebuilding all of that stuff, reordering things for the office that like maybe we would have had time for if we didn't have 2 young kids. It
Yep.
would have put us back, and we needed to take all of that with us so that we could more hit the ground running than
mhm,
trying to rebuild. And the opportunity cost, right? We're getting started in a new place. We could have come here 6 months, a year later, but we would have been that much farther behind in building here. So we just, yeah, we
And
opted
maybe
for that getting here and building.
maybe it's
yeah,
just comfort level too, because having everything that you've had attached to you for 7 years,
mhm.
there's some reassurances there, a little bit of motivation that we can do this because we have that support system. in
That's
place.
true. And I want to touch on the opportunity cost thing for a bit because a lot of people don't realize that. But yeah, like the time of it, we'll probably chat a little bit in a bit. But you guys bought a commercial piece of real estate. If you would have not moved there and maybe you waited to sell, you might not have had that opportunity to buy a space that you did, which was a great opportunity.
Mhm.
Quality of life, opportunity cost. So sometimes just saying like, okay, this isn't the easiest decision, but it's not worth the X amount of money we might have got for it when you actually take all the opportunity cost into the equation, not just the physical or the numbers you see on a screen as far as what money came in and what didn't. And so that's definitely something to consider as well. Now, let's go back. It's February of 2024. We're
Yep.
leaving Arizona. You guys are going to make this decision to do it. One of the things that I keep on chewing on a little bit since last week when I was in my strategic coach meeting, I was having just a lunch with one of the members, and it was like, he was telling a story about his kids and stuff, and he had the phrase, sometimes you got to do hard things worth doing. And he said it a couple times, like, "Oh, that makes sense, and in life, there's going to be things that are hard, very hard, but worth doing, like having kids, right?"
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So that falls in that category, no doubt. But from a professional standpoint, sometimes you really have to be able to take on something really hard because you see the worth in doing that. Were you is that kind of would you say what happens? You both got really clear on the value of doing this from just your own lives as a family. And then it allowed you to go through all the challenges to actually make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was hard working in Jackson for one,
Mhm.
and it seemed like it was just going to continue to be hard without a lot of like great outcome from that. And here it's like hard and very humbling to have to like go back and rebuild and be a new business. Um, but knowing that there's so much potential for what we can do here, we can see like, wow, if we can build what we like to build here and we're on, in the process of building it, it's worth it.
Mhm. Yep, absolutely. And then it was cool because then we kind of went through the year last year, and then we were in Denver, and it seemed like it was going to be a little more of a reality. Like I think by Denver Mastermind Weekend, you guys were doing this.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Everything was listed by that point.
Everything was listed by that point.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gotcha. And yeah, I think it's as cool as I feel like you guys definitely burned the ships once you made the decision, which is what's going to have you get there and do it. And then we actually had our third weekend mastermind in Jackson, which was ironic.
Yep.
Right? I'm glad you guys hadn't moved yet, but we had a great weekend there and doing that. And obviously at that point it was gonna happen. But I think our audience, we all face challenges, we all face hard decisions. It doesn't have to be as drastic as is moving, but it could be opening up your own practice. It could be deciding to hire another doctor for the first time. It could be buying commercial real estate. There's a lot of things that are very challenging. And once you decide to do that, you got to roll with the punches a little bit. But what were some of the biggest obstacles from when you said, okay, we're doing this,
Mm.
things are getting listed, to when you actually like, what are some of the things that stick out in your mind is like, oh shit, that was hard.
I mean, the whole process, I remember like we actually signed a piece of paper once we finally like I admitted that we were moving to Alaska in July that says like, barring obstacles or which we have quite a few to surmount or radical opportunity, we will move to Alaska in the fall of 2024. And at that point, our house was listed. Nothing was happening, right? The real estate market was very slow with the upcoming election. It might still be. I haven't followed it since
Mhm.
then. Um, Nothing was happening with our business sales. So we were just sitting there like hell bent on moving, but with no way to kind of make it happen, right? You can't
Yep.
find the buyers. They, to an extent have to find you. So I think those were big obstacles. There was,
Mhm.
A lot more as we started packing up and moving and lots of issues with like moving trucks and getting our stuff up here as well and getting started
Mhm.
It's a long trip up
up
here.
here. Um,
It seemed like, correct me if I'm wrong, but like the big domino was finally getting the house sold.
Yeah.
How
Yeah.
long did that take about for that to happen?
I mean, I guess not that long. It sold in mid-September, and I think we put it up in mid-April.
Mhm.
So I guess in
In the whole scheme of things,
in the whole scheme of things,
not
not
bad.
very long, just very
Yeah.
close to our like timing when we wanted to get out
When you're
because
under pressure, it seems
yeah,
like it takes longer.
trying to get up all your stuff up the Alcan in the later fall or winter um didn't seem like a good idea. So we were
Yeah, that
trying
makes that
more
makes
than that.
sense.
And the house was the critical factor because right, Jackson had blown up, Alpine had prices had increased
Yep.
a great deal. So selling our house was what enabled us
Yep.
to move because of the increase in real estate. So that was the key factor. Otherwise, right, we couldn't have afforded to move up here because moving's expensive in general, and moving up here is quite expensive.
Yeah, and it obviously allowed you having the equity in the home, and that would be in the big domino. It gave you money to give some security. It also
Yep.
allowed you to say, okay, we don't have to sell the practice now, I'm assuming.
Yeah.
And so you could leave and say, okay, we can take all our equipment, we take all our stuff, we can close the practice, and we have enough security to move up there. I think you guys rented a place to live.
Right. Yeah. We won't be buying a home for a little while. It's
Yep.
going to take some time to get that down payment because we put it all into this commercial property.
Let's take a break from today's episode and announce our first sponsor. This is going to be Propel Marketing and Design. I've known Darcy Sullivan for years. We've worked hand in hand on my websites. I don't trust anybody else to do this search engine optimization. She does a great job. There's so much to it. A lot of the lingo and the words are beyond my comprehension, but it's just amazing work that she does. And if you're really going to get results with Google, you have to make sure your website is SEO optimized. And I really don't want you doing it yourself as a chiropractor. So you just have to have this type of stuff done. And if you're looking to get more organic online traffic that pulls in new patients, Propel Marketing and Design is currently offering chiropractors who listen to this podcast a free SEO website review. The free review will help you uncover methods that will improve your website and boost your search engine visibility. Head over to propelyourcompany.com/chiropractor and schedule your free SEO website review. You won't regret it. She gets great results. Your website needs this. Your search results need this. Head on over there to propelyourcompany.com/chiropractor to get your free SEO website review. So now let's fast forward. Okay, so now things are starting to work out. Obviously it was not easy, and that unknown, like you said, having a time frame of like October to get up to Alaska, and then the house isn't selling right away. But in the grand scheme of things, it's sold in a fair time frame. But you got to get this done. So that was the big domino that we started getting the things going in our favor. Moved to Alaska. And then, what were you guys? How long did it take to find something to do up there for work wise? Give us a little bit of that story.
I think initially we were a little bit nervous because we got here and we were putting feelers out, trying to find like a little one room that we could put a table in and start.
Yep.
And it did take a little bit longer, and it was a slower start than we anticipated, but we did find a great place to ultimately get started in.
I think 5 weeks. So I would say.
Yeah.
I think we expected things. I especially expect things to happen even quicker than they happen, but we found a spot pretty quick. Got started. We are still working on getting a network with insurance in Alaska. They have one good reimbursement to a lot of expectation for you to take insurance. And in Wyoming, we've been a cash practice. So this is a whole new ball game for us. And so that's the part we're still working on, the credentialing, but we're expecting it all within the next couple of weeks at this point.
I did think, real quick, you gain some perspective when you look back on it, because obviously when you were in it, it felt like selling the house was taking a while, or it felt like finding a place to work in Alaska was taking a little while. But when you then look back, it's like, oh shit, we did all of that in 6 months, 7, 8 months. And it's just like, it realizes like a lot of times we have to give ourselves some credit. We have to like, okay, this is a process. I know I want it to happen sooner than later, but don't get, just discouraged as you're doing this different steps in a hard project or a hard situation like this. Because then when you end up looking back on it, the compression of time is like, oh, wow, that happened really fast.
Right, right.
And
Yeah,
it's just,
sometimes I'm not known for my patience, but then back, I'm like, "Oh, we did do a lot." And
yeah,
I thought it was gonna take less time for some reason, but
yeah,
it takes some time.
it does. And it's just like if our audience is listening and you open up your practice, like you're not going to have 100 patients in month 3, right? Maybe there's some freaks out there, but usually like it's going to take some time. And then when you look back, it's like, oh, that was a pretty quick couple years where we actually got going pretty good. And so you got to give yourself a little bit of understanding of how the time compression works in these scenarios. Because now we started you started working at a place there that didn't go as planned, which then leads you to another kind of contextual standpoint of like sometimes you have a strategic byproduct of what happens when you thought you had one thing happening and that kind of was a bad situation that didn't happen. Not anybody's fault, but just it didn't work
Mhm.
out for that space to be able to. I think you're going to rent the space maybe, and maybe
Yeah, we were,
potentially.
gonna rent and take over their lease and potentially buy. It was a regenerative medicine business that we were subletting from. And
Yeah.
yeah, that didn't work. And that's what sent us back looking out for commercial property. And then we stumbled on this place, which we'd actually seen and like looked up, driven by when we visited last year, February.
Mm.
So we saw the space Thursday morning. I was like, "Hey, Tyler, we should see if our real estate agent um, can have us like look at the space." Thursday afternoon, we saw it. Um, did a tour. Friday morning, we put an offer on it. Monday morning, we accepted their counter offer on it. And then Monday afternoon, we got a 30-day notice for the place we were renting because they actually had someone else buying the business that they'd been doing kind of undercover, who didn't want us didn't want chiropractors in the place. They were redoing it. So it was like, okay, we have a commercial space, but we're getting kicked out of our current
Yeah.
space. Um, yeah, it was good timing though.
That's
I like I
great.
got the 30-day notice and I just like started laughing. And so then we worked really hard to compress the timeline of moving into this space
Yeah.
so that we didn't have a gap.
So what I'm saying is like if we were to like rewind and just look at this past year, like it was all perfect. It didn't feel that way, but I mean, again, like you had a situation where you thought you were going to be able to lease this space for long term, which would have been cool, but it didn't work out. And then you got to buy a space, which is 10 times better. And
Right.
you get to do with the space what you want to do with it. And now you're moved in. And I mean, and I think about it, if you didn't start looking for a space and then you got a 30-day notice, it would have been really nerve-wracking for sure. So I think it's a kudos to you. Like you guys were well prepared at each step, and pushed through, and then it worked out.
I don't know if we were always well prepared as much as we were ready to like, pivot and look. We thought we were gonna
Yeah.
be in one place and then started getting the heebie-jeebies and we're like, let's look. And it was
Yeah.
just in time, maybe.
You listen
Yeah,
to your
and
stomach.
we have a
Yeah.
great
Go.
support system that helps us adapt like that too.
Right.
Yeah.
Like we're pretty supportive of each other and through
Yeah.
all decisions, and we're able to kind of adapt and swing like we need to.
Yeah. No, absolutely. Let's take a short break for one of our great sponsors, TrackStat. It is a new type of software plugin for your EHR that combines patient communication, marketing, automation, and statistics with patient and employee tracking. Built by chiropractors for chiropractors, it shows your team what to focus on each day. See patient visit habits, missing information, unpaid bills, insurance collection visit average, and more. Great visibility of data so you can focus on filling your office with your best patients. When you can see what your staff and patients are doing or not doing and take action accordingly, your profits naturally grow. Take TrackStat for a test drive in your office with our free trial. Not a techie, no problem, we can help. To get started on your free trial, visit trackstat.org and watch the demo. That is trackstat.org. I want the audience to listen to the story, and I'm not saying everybody needs to go and like do what you guys did, right?
Right. Yeah.
But I think there was a lot of good communication around it. You just were in a unique situation where Jackson, I mean, it just really did get out of hand, right?
At least for us with little kids.
Yeah, in that regard, and it just realized that this was best for you and you were able to make a hard decision and then work through it strategically, realize it wasn't going to be easy, be able to roll with some of the punches. Cause I think that's the thing is no matter what a chiropractor is going to do, that's a big thing is you better learn to roll with the punches and realize like, okay, just another problem we need to solve and we just need to overcome that. It's not always going to be the straight perfect line of from A to Z. It
Yep.
can get ugly sometimes.
It's true.
Was there any particular strategies that either of you relied on to kind of deal with the obstacles? Was it I don't know, journaling, meditating, exercise, talking to people, whatever? Was there anything in particular?
Yeah, I think exercise
Yeah,
for
I
sure.
say exercise was probably like our go-to for
Yeah.
stress relieving. That's why we're building a gym here. Um, and I think also just like we've got a very much, I think the line that we probably say the most often is we'll figure this out
Mhm.
because there's always new things for us to figure out. And we know that we don't know, like we've got to get a commercial construction loan. We don't know how to do that. Oh, we'll figure it out. Um, So I think that just knowing we can figure out and then persistence, I think has been a huge
Yeah,
thing
absolutely.
throughout this. We just, even moving up here, I don't know if it's true everywhere, like nobody calls you back. You got to call them 3 times. You got to email 3 times, just everything we do in order to, succeed in business. It's not about being, the smartest person out there. You just have to put in the effort
Mm.
and know that other people will, not call back, not do exactly what they say, and you just have to persist.
Let's take a short break from today's episode to tell you about the best decision I've made in my clinic in the last 10 years, and that has been adding shockwave therapy to our clinic. The outcomes have been really impressive. Certain conditions we were struggling with in the past, we're now seeing results with the shockwave therapy for that. And second of all, the ROI has been really good. You know, when you make a big investment in something, you want to see a return, and we're seeing that return in clinical outcomes and in our investment, and that's been really nice to see. I chose Keenest Medical for 4 reasons. One is the technology is top notch. You have to have great technology. There's a lot out there that isn't quite up to snuff. The second thing is they have a really good clinical training. They have an exclusive partnership with Academy of Shockwave Excellence so that you can become clinically proficient in shockwave. You do need to get skilled at it. I think that's a big differentiator between practices that are getting great results and seeing the ROI is they have a great clinical aspect to that as well. So you want to get trained appropriately. Third is they have in-house service team for all of your technical support, which is key when you're investing in a machine like this. And then lastly, they have a very in-depth marketing and business support for you so that you can launch this into your practice effectively, that you can get that ROI on it, that you can get the clinical outcomes. And they also have really good financing options if you need that. So go to keenestmedical.com, KINAS medical.com, mention MCM podcast and receive a free shockwave in practice book with a purchase of a unit. So that's keenestmedical.com, KINAS medical.com, and mention MCM podcast. Another word I love, and I forget who said it on a podcast. She came up with the idea, or at least I think she did, and it was in a book, but she used the word resilient, and I'll say you guys have been very resilient. And the way she described it, which I really love, is a lot of people would describe it as bouncing back. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
she described it as bouncing forward, which I really liked, where it's like, okay, when tough things happen, like, okay, you get the space you thought you were going to be able to lease, the regenerative medicine you thought you'd be able to buy, when that fell through, you bounced forward and you found a commercial space to buy and you weren't jaded and you just did the next thing. And so you were very resilient through that process. And then your other part you mentioned, figure this out. I think that's a great skill for people to develop. And I think sometimes it takes experience, it takes a little bit like when we're 26, it's a little more challenging, but as you go
Mhm.
along, and for our younger audience, like you will get better at this, but having confidence in yourself or like for you two and each other and yourselves, that you will be able to figure it out so that when, whether it's that challenging situation with an employee or it's a child or it's whatever, you'll have the skill set to figure it out. And that's what you've been able to do, which has been cool.
Yeah.
any words of wisdom going through something big like that? Other than that was wisdom as well, but
Yeah.
anything?
I mean, I think also knowing that, like, right, it will be hard and it's not always just like physically hard. Like the move that we made was emotionally hard, right? Like
Mhm.
we left Jackson, which is where I'd lived before chiropractic school. That was where like all of my best friends were. We'd planted an apple tree in our backyard. I was like, we're gonna live there forever. We're gonna have this many apple trees. Um, and right, leaving our patients, like you get so attached to your patients. Like, when they were crying, some of them were crying at the end, like, it's hard not to cry.
Yeah.
I don't know if Tyler cried, like, I'm sure I did more. Um, and moving to a new place is also hard. Like, there's grief and the friends that we miss, the place that we thought we'd be, the patience that we had, as well as, like I said, like, the humbling of, like, we built ourselves up well over 7 years, and here we are looking at, a less full schedule and being
Yep.
like, "Oh, I thought we'd be farther along, 3 months in than we are." Um, so
One of the things I just was thinking when you were chatting was it's like you're kind of now at a blank canvas. And I think sometimes, um, one might say like 3 months ago you were at a blank canvas, but I would say probably like 3 months ago you didn't even have a canvas.
I would have
And so now you've actually got the canvas because you're in Anchorage, the kids are in school, you've got the space. It's not fully built out yet, but it's damn near close. You got the practice. Like I would say now you're at that blank canvas. So tell us, give us the vision of what, okay, you guys are really good at naming clinics. I like that. I got your backcountry hat still that you had in Jackson, and now you guys have rebranded to Ascent Health and Performance, which I just love that. Um, but give us one of you two, give us the vision. What's this practice going to look like in 3 years when we're rehashing this last 3 years and how quick it went?
yeah, I want to talk about, and the rebrand to Ascent and
Yes. We decided to go with Ascent Health and Performance. Backcountry, like a lot of people here do go into the backcountry and ski and hike.
Yep.
It's just not, at least from what we've heard, is prominently talked about as the backcountry. It's more just like getting out in the hills or the mountains and adventuring. And so we wanted something that was more about the journey and the adventure than just, this current point in time. So the Ascent kind of represents both your journey through health, your journey to get more fit, to more strength, and then also our journey from where we were to where we're at now and where we're going.
I think it's forward progress.
Forward progress.
It really
And
is. I
for
love
our
it.
patients, right, we're not just trying to get them, better back to where they were. That's why we're, gonna have rehab. We've had rehab assistants at our office in Jackson and personal training and then small group classes. The idea that they can keep getting better. So it's that we can all keep getting better, as people,
Mhm.
in business and fitness. And so that's where, like, I feel like the name Ascent really means, like, let's build, let's move forward, let's, onward and upward. And that's where we're going. Yeah, with your business. You're going to.
Let's climb that mountain.
I love it. And then you guys are gonna have a kind of the clinic gym hybrid type of scenario. And you guys offer shockwave, things like that. That was also the thing you got to bring with you, right?
Right. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
No rapid shockwave and focused shockwave, which
Yeah.
is wonderful. I mean, yeah, our vision here, we have just over 3,000 square feet.
Yep.
And so we'll have 1,000 square foot gym. We'll be running small group classes out of there. We'll have, I believe, 5 rooms. Currently, we just have one big room we're working out of as we start the build out. So having room for us, room for, an associate, room for massage therapists or other therapists. We'll have rehab assistants again, as, we do the chiropractic and the soft tissue work and then sending them on to somebody who excels at guiding the patient through rehab. And then when they're, through rehab and don't need, that, I guess, as specific care, then sending them towards group classes where they can continue to strengthen and grow with a careful, watchful eye over them. If they're returning after a disc injury, shoulder injury, we just don't want to send them right back into the wild and let them get injured again. So yeah, that's our vision, kind of building more here in the space. We, now that we've had that one foray into potentially having a regenerative medicine business,
Thing.
want to do that someday. I
Mhm.
can see the
Sure.
I can see the enticement there and how it's a similar clientele who would like that. If you don't have to have knee surgery because there's something else that might help it. It's
Yeah.
fascinating and would be helpful too.
Yeah.
So
That's cool. And you can create what you want. And I can say this because I built a practice back from like 2007 to 2010. I was in a partnership, and then I sold my part of the partnership back and opened my own in a different city. And it was, looking back on it, that would have been 2010. I started this practice. Having it be like the second time was
mhm.
helpful. The first
Yep.
time's always hard, and not that you wanted necessarily have to do it a second time, but when you do, it's like you've got your sea legs under you. You know how you did it the first
Mhm.
time, and you can try to replicate that. And so it's you guys will do just fine.
Thank you.
That's exciting. And then we'll see each other in Boise here coming up in a
Yes.
in a in
Yes,
a couple
indeed.
months, and can't wait to dive into some more of the details there. And it's been cool to see, I would say, the mastermind group um, help out. I think, whether it's been sometimes a shoulder to cry on or just some
Yeah.
ideas and support to do that. I think we've all needed that within the mastermind groups over the years. It's been really good to do that, and excited to continue the year with you two in the mastermind group.
Yeah. It's been an amazing group.
And we're excited to be a part of it.
Yeah, it's a good group.
Yep.
We learn a lot. We have fun, and we hold each other accountable. So.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Well, listen, this has been awesome. I really appreciate you coming on and kind of telling your story. And I think a lot of people can gain a lot out of this. Not that they're going to move to Alaska, but
But it's nice if you want to. We welcome you up here.
it is beautiful. It is beautiful. But I think it just gives people the context of like, look, you can do something. And again, you guys were right in the middle of the prime of your careers when you did this. You had a great practice in Jackson, and you had family, and you had the house, you had all that, and you just saw an opportunity that was going to be better for the long run of your family, and you took that. And I think people can resonate with that on other things in their life and be able to take the necessary steps and do that. So thank you.
Thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And if you want to make the shift from busy, broke, and broken to time-free and cash confident, or you just want to continue with the exponential growth, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com. Look at the MCM Mastery tab, watch the short video on there, and check out what we are doing now for evidence-informed chiropractors. We are equal parts coaching and marketing done for you. Yes, you shoot some videos, we help you with campaign strategies and ideas and really become a thought leader in your community. You shoot those videos, you send them to us, we produce, edit, and brand them to you. Then we distribute them through all of your channels. We also take them and we turn it into one good blog per month. And every other month, we have Darcy Sullivan producing a robust blog with a topic that you pick from her database to help with your SEO. So we essentially become your content marketing agency to make sure your practice is always having ethical, elegant content marketing to help grow your practice. On the coaching side, we also help you with everything from marketing ideas to business, communications, finances, anything practice growth, and really try to help prevent you from being stuck on that island. And we hold you accountable. We have a great group of doctors that are just doing amazing things, and we look forward to help you out to take that next step in your practice. So again, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com and learn more.